Welcome back to the Justice Conference Asia 2014. I'm here with Matt Friedman, who is a very outspoken anti-slavery activist. And you were sharing with us earlier, and you talked about someone in slavery, a girl, could be raped 7,000 times. Yeah. And that's absolutely staggering. But why is it that we're not hearing these stories?
I think part of it is that when you hear something that is so graphic, something that is so wrong, that you find yourself overwhelmed. It's too much to take in. And I think in this world of ours, we're so used to kind of bad news in little doses. And when you go from one rape, and that's a big deal, to 7,000, your mind can't even handle that. And it's so important that we get over that, because if we don't, basically what you're going to have is a situation where that situation goes on and on and on with so many other people. We have to get over that. Right. We have to be able to accept it. We have to have the courage to reach inside of ourselves and say, I am going to face this. And once I have that information, I'm going to figure out something to do in order to address it.
Right. And you talked about even, newspapers, and you never see these kinds of stories. And what is it about these issues that people just don't even want to go close to it?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that the world, most of us live in kind of a society and a situation where things are systematic and things are good and and in the moment it gets to a point where it's over the top, it just shuts us down. I mean, I once wrote a book, and I started handing it out to people, and as they were reading it, they got to a point where they said, oh, no, that's too sad. I can't take this in. Well, if we can't accept what is on paper sitting in our living rooms, how are we going to get to a point where we're going to be able to do something about it? We have to be able to reach inside and feel these things, experience them, so that they get to a point where it's so important to us that we say, I'm going to have to cross over this line into going from knowing something and feeling to actually doing something.
And I think probably even at a more concerning level, you talked about governments, and you've worked with a number of governments in terms of human slavery. And even the governments they're almost afraid to really even talk about or even address this. And why is that?
Well, slavery is an embarrassing topic. For any government to have slavery going on, it's an extremely embarrassing thing for them to admit. So a lot of governments, rather than facing it, will just kind of close their eyes to it and say, okay, well, we don't really have a problem. We don't have to worry about this, because the moment they kind of open up the Pandora's box and go inside, they may find some ugliness that is very uncomfortable for them.
And I think we're all probably more familiar when we talk about sex trafficking, but you've also talked a little bit about employment slavery.
That's right.
And you talked about how we should be careful, even the clothes that we buy, in particular apparel, that we should be checking on those things. Why is that?
Well, there's 21 million people in slavery. About 75% of them are in forced labor, and 60% of them are associated with supply chains, which means that they are working in factories and sweatshops and so forth that support the products that we basically buy. When it comes to clothing, you can go to various countries where people will work 5,200 hours a year compared to what the average person, which would be about half of that, for about $180 US. Wow. And I make the point that in this town, in Hong Kong, there are people who make $180 in 45 minutes.
Right.
There is a great disparity. And if you are buying those clothes and you're wearing them, who wants that taintedness of slavery to be associated with that? So we need to look into this. We need to go online before we buy name brand products and make sure that those companies are doing responsible things, checking their supply chains, posting what it is they're doing to address the problem, so that we can feel comfortable with the products that we have.
Right. And you talked about I think you left everyone at the end there just with a few really practical points, that this is an issue that all of us can be involved in,
right,
in a small way or in a big way.
That's right.
And you left us with just a few practical points. Can you just touch on those really quickly?
Yeah, basically learn about the topic. And once you do, then go to other people and teach them. Go online with social media and educate people through articles that you see in the newspaper. As consumers, as I mentioned, go online before you buy products to make sure that the products that you have are responsibly done. Take some of the money that you have and give it over to organizations that are addressing human slavery.
Right.
A small amount can go a long way.
Right.
And pray.
Great. Matt, thank you so much for being here at the Justice Conference. We're so glad to have you, and very, very inspired, very encouraged by what you shared.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.